one spot. So the national holiday of Quebec, which is Wednesday, sort of kicks off the vacation season.
Oh, okay. So your vacation season begins the end of June until when?
Well, we don't have a single block. It's just hard. So it basically runs from July and August, and people take a couple, 2 or 3 weeks out during that period. But we have Canada Day on July 1st. We have Saint Jean Baptiste on June 24th, and so people tend to build their vacations on top of those days to stretch them out. And of course, all the this year has been such a weird year. I have no idea what's going to happen. But,
Good morning, Pepe, Robert. It's Julio here.
good morning, Julio.
Hello, Julio.
How's it going?
I think perhaps what I'll do is I'll drop off for a few minutes and wait until the others come back in, and then we can start the discussion.
Peter is already coming in, eh?
Oh, Peter's in. Okay, good. Let me.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, good to see you all.
Peter.
Hello, Peter.
Hi.
I am Jose Albarran.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Fine. So you're from you're living where, in Calgary?
No, in Hamilton.
Okay.
That's near Toronto.
Okay, Peter.
Yeah. So Sohail is in Calgary. Eve is in Montreal. I'm in Ottawa, and Peter is in Hamilton. Are you Jose? Are you all in Mexico City?
Yes. Let's say most of us are in Mexico City. Victor is in Querétaro.
Okay.
And I don't know who else is from outside Mexico City. But probably some people from Guadalajara will connect later.
Yes.
Sometimes they're going some people from Yucatan or Monterrey.
Okay.
Well, hello, good morning. How are you? This is Erwin Fritz. I am seeing you, Pepe.
Hola, Erwin.
¿Cómo estás?
Buenos días.
Yes.
Buenos días, ¿cómo te va? Hola.
It's Julio Sevilla.
Ah,
So he was already coming in also.
¿Quién?
Good morning, I'm Arturo Rosales. Good morning, Pepe. Good morning.
Arturo, hello.
Buenos días.
How are you?
¿Cómo estás, Arturo?
Muy bien. ¿Qué tal, Pepe?
Yo te veo.
Hola, Erwin.
¿Qué dices?
Just to remind you that it's already transmitting in YouTube, the session, okay? Just to take care of what you said.
Hola, Marina.
Hola. Hello, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
So, Sohail, is that the right way to pronounce your name? You need to open your mic.
It's a
It's
perfect. way
already
to
typing.
pronounce
So
it.
here.
Thanks. Morning, everybody.
Morning.
All right.
So when are you actually becoming the president? You're president-elect, right?
Yes, it takes 2 years, I guess. There's a 2-year term as president-elect and 2 years as president and 2 years as past president. So it's a 6-year commitment.
Oh. And here we have the vice president, which becomes the president. 2 years, 2 years. It's only a 4-year commitment.
Oh, okay.
Our current vice president-elect was connected. Is
Yes,
connected.
I'm
It's
here.
Monica Barrera.
Hi.
Hi,
Morning.
how are you? Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
And our current vice president is not connected. He might not be because he said he had a very busy day. He will be the next president tomorrow. Tomorrow we have our yearly assembly, and we change from vice president to president.
Oh,
And
great.
I think
We had it.
that
Sorry, go ahead.
you know, I thought that I see that Yves is coming in.
I believe so, yeah.
I
Oh,
thought
he is,
he was enabled, so it's good that he was able to do it.
Yeah, but the meeting started at 9:30. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
So
it will begin officially at 9:30.
okay,
Yes.
so I'm not late. It's 9:30 right now, Montreal.
No,
Yes.
you're not lady.
No,
We
you're
would-
not.
I look like I'm late because I see so many people starting walking and talking, so that's good.
No,
we were all in a rush to get to Mexico. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I just saw the beautiful the ocean, so.
So I think from the Canadian side, we're all here. Eve, as Jose pointed out, the Zoom is limited to fellows of the Academy because they've previously been hacked, so have to register the same way we did for our AGM. But it is also being live streamed to YouTube, and so you may have an audience of millions.
Good, great. So are we ready to start? So should we start with the Canadian?
Time, Pepe. Sorry. It's time.
Yes. Okay. Marina is our host, so she will introduce you. I asked her to do a very short introduction, not read the resumes, but only your titles, so that we can have a shorter meeting and everybody can be here as long as possible. Bienvenido, Reyes.
Have you done the test of the presentations? Or not need?
I know we haven't tested it.
Do you need?
But some people will use a presentation and share the screen. I think Yves will. I don't know if you saw Hale.
Yes, please.
Okay, but we'll just do it on the time at the time that it comes.
Okay, so Eve, did you have the presentation at your end to put up?
Yeah, I can put on the screen right now if you wish.
Well, I think we'll start with the introductions and then go.
Memo, no estoy pudiendo darles privilegios de copresentadores. ¿Puedes tú?
Pero no lo necesitan, ¿no? ¿Sí?
¿Ninguno?
Pues nada más para presentar pantalla no creo que lo necesiten. ¿O si lo necesitan, Memo?
Sí.
No te oímos, Memo.
Estamos compartiendo Yo soy anfitrión y Marina también, y no tengo yo cómo dar privilegios a los otros.
Yo creo que tú les puedes dar privilegios.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Soy Víctor Castaño y les
Hola,
comentaba
Víctor.
que estaba tratando de hacer la prueba para mi presentación, pero me dice que el host no me da los privilegios para poder compartir mi pantalla. ¿Qué hago?
Es lo que estoy viendo, déjame ver.
So we're verifying that you can do the screen sharing. Could anyone try, for example, Yves?
You want me to try to share the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, let me try it. I'm disabled, so someone has to give me the authorization.
Okay, so that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Si tú te colocas sobre su nombre, ¿no te aparece la opción de coanfitrión, Memo? Porque a mí no me aparece.
Lo puedo presentar.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Who is the host, actually? It's
Well, they are co-hosting Marina and Guillermo.
okay. Still not able.
Marina, buenos días. Una pregunta. ¿Quién inició la conferencia? ¿Y quién fue la persona que la inició?
Memo, es que nos pasamos la anfitrionía 3 veces.
Bueno, quizás él pueda, ¿no? Quizás sea el indicado.
Sí, pero algo, por lo que veo, tampoco está pudiendo.
Well, one option is if you send the presentation by mail, then he can present it for you.
So, Robert, could you send it? What is your email, Maria?
Ya me hizo
María.
anfitriona, déjame ver si puedo. Ya. Ya, now Soil Asgarpor.
Yes.
Do it. And which else?
Hola, buenos días. Buenos días. En el
Buenos
icono de
días.
Security, si le dan clic, el host, ahí es donde permite compartir la pantalla. El icono de Security está en la parte inferior.
Parte inferior? Okay.
Ya estás de host, Marina.
Now Peter Manchester.
Masher.
Yeah, I'm here.
Masher, Peter Masher, Robert Crowe y Soheil.
Yes.
Y Yves Bouchard
Yes.
también.
Yes.
También para Yves Bouchard, que es el presidente actual.
Ok.
Y él va a empezar porque se tiene que ir antes.
Ok. Nada me falta Víctor
Okay,
Castaigne.
now it's working. It's working now. Thanks a lot.
Okay, great.
So let me
Very good.
let me use the full screen. Isn't it better?
Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. So maybe I should start right away. And after that, I think it's probably Sohei, Peter, and Robert will eventually join the discussion. So after I finish with the overall presentation of the Canadian Academy. So my name is Yves Beauchamp. I'm the newly elected president of the Academy. I was the president-elect for the last 2 years. Sohel has replaced me as the president-elect, so now I'm the full president. In my free time, I'm the vice principal at McGill University. So it's so when I have time, I'm having a full time at McGill University. So actually, I'll give you some information about our vision and our mission. So basically, the Canadian Academy of Engineering is the vanguard of applying engineering principle to the prosperity, well-being, and sustainability in Canada and its people. Obviously, our main mission are to recognize and honor outstanding engineer achievement and service to the profession. This is the main mission of our organizations. But also we should demonstrate leadership in the responsible application of engineering knowledge for the benefit of Canadians, providing advice, decision makers, and contributes shaping the future in engineering. And I will explain in a few moments how we could provide strategic advice to, for instance, the government of Canada. So we are pretty young. Actually, we were founded in almost 35 years ago. At the beginning, there were 44 fellows that were the founders of this academy. Today, we have more than 800 fellows. Every year, we do induct a maximum of 50 new fellows. So overall, we have reached 829 fellows so far. 11% of our fellows are women, and probably you have the same percentage in the Mexican Academy as well, because this is a priority for us to increase the number of women in engineering, and especially in the academy. But now I think things has been better for the last 2 years. We have at least almost 20% of the new fellows, which is a good increase. The CAE is an independent organization that is found mostly through the fees. So every fellow has to pay a membership going forward every year. We do receive donation mainly from our fellows, and also we raise money from sponsorship, especially when we organize the AGM, l'Assemblée Générale Annuelle, which is once a year. So usually we can raise money or through sponsorship. We do not receive any grants from government, any other organization, and this is something we would like to change. This is something we're going to work over the next few years to increase the number of income that could come from the government, for instance, for different aspects. So when we look at the categories of our memberships, so the majority, 60% come from academia, 31% come from the industries, and 9% come from the government. This is the overall categorization of our 829 fellows. And if we look by categories of fellows, we have 598 active. So active are actually the regular fellows. They can vote, they can participate, they can be in the office of the bureau of the academy. We also have 201 emeritus. So you become emeritus when you reach the the great age of 69 years old and you have at least 5 years serving at the academy, then you become emeritus. At that point, you still receive all the information, you don't vote, but also you pay a fee that is reduced for that. Honorary, we have 6. This is the highest level where you can achieve as the fellows. So you doesn't have to be fellows actually to become honorary. It could be non-fellows as well, but you have to demonstrate outstanding contribution to the field of engineering. So very few, as you can see. We can nominate 2 a year, and so far we have 6 honorary. International is it's a brand new category. We can nominate to a maximum of 10 international a year. For the last 2 years, we were able to nominate 11, and I'm glad to report that one of your members, Dr. Manuel Castaigne, is also an international fellow of the Canadian Academy. So this is great. And also we have 13 fellows that has reached the amazing age of 19 years old and more. So this is basically the categories of fellows. In Canada, there are 3, I would say, academy. The oldest one is probably the most renowned, is the Société Royale du Canada. This was founded 140 years ago. It's very old when you compare to ours, which is not even 35 years old. And the newest one is the Canadian Academy for Health Science, who was founded in 2005. This academy is only 15 years old. But the 3 academies are composed of nearly 4,000 fellows. We have more than 800. The Canadian Academy of Health Science have around 700 fellows, but the Royal Society has almost 2,500 fellows, which compose 4,000 overall. And we are working together under the umbrella of what we call the Canadian, the Council of Canadian Academies. So this organization actually is an organization which all the 3 academies are members, and the council is responsible of conducting assessment mainly for the government of Canada. So every year, the Council of Canadian Academy receive nearly $3.5 million from the government of Canada in order for the council to realize around 4 to 5 assessments a year, assessments on major topics, which are fact-based. They are not opinion, but they are fact-based assessment. And the way it's work, the council is responsible to recruit panels that are composed of fellows coming from all those 3 academies, expert on a specific field. Let's suppose that one assessment has to deal with climate change. Then we will recruit fellows coming from all the academies, compose a panel, could be between 10 and 15 members in some case. And the assessment, it's a report that is eventually transferred to the government that should help decision makers to make law, regulation, and so on. So this is a very important task, and this is the way Academy can play a role in the governmental decision. Also, we have partnership with, of course, the International Council of Academy of Engineering, Technology, and Science. And I mean, you know well this academy because I think the Academy of Mexico was a founder in 1978 of this international council, which is composed of 30 academy around the world. So we joined this academy many years ago, but not as long as the Mexican one. And Peter actually is our representative at the CAETS. Also, we are involved in Art to Change the World, and also we are involved with the ONU, As you know, there is a 17 goal for sustainability. The goal number 14 is the one that deals with the ocean, and we are pretty much involved in that category as we are planning to organize the next AGM in the Maritime on that specific matter. So the priorities of the Canadian Academy programs. So we just adopted a new strategic program lately. And the new thing about that strategic program is that we will be developing a program over the next few years. Probably Robert will eventually talk about those programs. And this is where we could see collaboration with the Academy of Mexico. And what are the transversal priorities of those programs are sustainability, productivity, innovation, and digital transformation. Those should be reflected in the program that will be carrying on over the next few years. Some highlight, well, the few things that we have been organizing. There's a roadmap for resilient low energy building. That is something coming on October 16 at Concordia University. Probably you were aware of that. Also the future of ocean engineering in Canada. So at the next AGM next year in Halifax, there will be a conference dealing with these topics. And also we will be working on energy of the future. There will be a digital think tank coming. Will be connected and automated vehicle. This is something we would like to work on. Public safety regarding COVID, Robert, I could talk about it. I mean, this is something quite important. I mean, we've been working on how we can provide masks, for instance, with common material to help fight against protect against the COVID-19, and a lot of aspects regarding communication. So at this point, I will stop here because we have few minutes to cover all of those. So unless there's any question, maybe I could ask my colleagues to jump at this point and add information about the topics regarding the Canadian Academy. So I don't know, Robert, Peter, or Sohail, who is the next one in the list.
Thank you.
Hello, I have a question, if may I?
Yes, of course.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I had the privilege of being induced to the Academy last year. I'm Victor Castaigne. And my question is there any joint project among the 3 academies in Canada to face COVID or the health problems that we're facing today, or you are working independently?
We are working independently on that right now, at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's start our president, Jose Albarrán.
Thank you, Marina. Basically, what we do in these meetings is we hold questions until every one of the speakers have spoken, and then we direct the questions to one or several of them. I will not make a presentation of the Academy of Engineering, Mexican Academy of Engineering, because most of the people looking at this are from the Academy. So I will send you some information to our fellows from Canada, so that you have more information about us. But basically, what I would like to express is that working together with other academies has been kind of, let's say, not a very common thing for our academy. We have worked with the other two academies in Mexico, the other two national academies, which are the National Academy of Medicine, which is very, very old, and the Mexican Academy of Sciences. So it would be a similar arrangement like the three academies you mentioned in Canada. And we have worked with a similar group of academies from the United States in a couple of projects, one having to do with the border between Mexico and US and the part that is more arid. And another one has to do with opiates. But I think that it would be very good that we could work together in some projects. Of course, we have to be careful not to overreach and try to do too many things and then not doing any. Okay. As I see, you have some events coming up that I'm sure would be very interesting for some of our people here around the people that I know that are in the meeting. And I'm sure they will ask you specific questions or write to you about them and see if they can participate. Now coming into areas that I think that could be of interest to both academies. Of course, there's the health issue with the COVID. I can tell you that in Mexico, we have been trying to do some things from the engineering point of view, and we have been successful in some of them, led by a member of an academy that works in the government of the city, in the science and technology department. And one of them is to develop an N95 face mask. That has been, I think, very successful. In 5 weeks, they designed the mask and the manufacturing train for 40,000 masks per day. There have been others, like we have a company that is very strong in graphene, producing graphene, and so they decided to look at a mask, one of these transparent face masks, and cover it with graphene at the front and both sides, let's say, of the transparent mask. And they have been very successful with that. And now Julio came to us to propose us to support, and you're working together with the University of Guadalajara on homemade face masks, and how technology can help to improve that, so that people could have a mask, a cheaper mask, but that it's also effective against COVID-19. Ventilators has been another issue, and it hasn't been yet as successful as we would like. I think that we're about to come out with a couple of designs that are approved by the Mexican authorities, but it took longer than we expected. So I don't think we'll have a production of ventilators before July or August of this year. So anything that has to do with this these issues of viruses that are coming along. I think we're about to enter the season of the other coronavirus, the previous one. I don't remember the name, but so we're going to have a combination of viruses there. So that has to. So many people are working on that, of course, from the medical side, but I think the engineering has to also something to put into. Now, I know that Canadians are very, very conscientious of the environment, and I think that's a great thing to be. I think that the economy should move more towards environment conscious economy, so that we don't say it is too expensive, but it should be a good business for us to live in this world for a longer time. And we have people that have been working in processing garbage, for example, or waste processing and producing energy from waste, for example, in as clean a way as possible. So that's an area that we might be able to work together, the things that have to do with a better environment. And we would include there clean energy. I think that Mexico has many things that help in producing a cleaner energy, but it has problems from the fact that this energy is not produced in a constant, steady way. It varies. It varies with day or night. It varies with the amount of wind. Varies with several things, and that imposes a problem into the energy systems. And the way to solve that is to have an environmentally friendly energy storage system. I know that the world hasn't found one yet that is commercially available at a reasonable price, but I think that is also a thing that our academies could push forward to be developed by the Canadian or the Mexican research centers. So I think that in these three areas we could maybe find a way to set a common course, and that would be my participation so far. Marina.
Thank you. Thank you. I think could be, to meet our guest, let me read the resume of Yves Bacham. Yves Bacham is president of the Canadian Academy of Engineers and vice principal administration and finance, McGill University in Montreal, Canada. Previously, he was vice rector at the University de Montreal and director general of the École de Technologie of Quebec, located in Montreal. At ETS, Professor of Industrial Engineering, he served as treasurer and vice president of the Inter-American Organization for Higher Education. Dr. Bacham was received numerous awards and honors. He was elected fellow of the Canadian Academy of Engineering 2010, received the Medal of the National Assembly of Quebec in 2013, and was made Knight of the National Order of Quebec 2014. And both Queen Elizabeth II Golden and Diamond Jubilee medals. Dr. Bacham has also contributed to the development through the education of peer-reviewed articles, research reports published by the Quebec Occupational Health and Safety Research Institute and other academic writings. Dr. Bacham holds a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering and a master's in industrial safety and hygiene from University of Quebec, and as well as a PhD in industrial engineering for the West Virginia University. Welcome. Now let's know about Soleil Asgarpour, a fellow of the both Canadian Academy. Is the president-elect, then the Canadian Academy of Engineering and the Canadian Institute of Mining, Metallurgy and Petroleum. Dr. Asgarpour has over 35 years of diversified technical business and operation experience in the oil and gas industry market by providing strong leadership to several profit and not-for-profit organizations. Dr. Asgarpour is the past president of the Canadian Institute of Mining, Metallurgy and Petroleum. He has served the Petroleum Society as chairman, Petroleum Recovery Institute as first vice chairman, and Canadian Institute for Photonic Innovations and Canadian Academy of Engineering as director. He has over 40 technical and business publications with reputable Canadian and US journals in the areas of reservoir engineering, production engineering, enhanced oil recovery, horizontal drilling technology, risk analysis, reserves estimation, economic evaluation, statistical analysis, heat transformer, solar energy, and nuclear technology. He's a distinguished author of the Journal of Canadian Petroleum Technology, co-author of the Petroleum Society graph, Determination of Oil and Gas Reserves. Dr. Asgarpour's commitment to the future of oil and gas industry has been demonstrated through the numerous awards he has received over the course of this career, recognizing his excellent technical and business leadership, commitment to advising new technology, and excellence in promoting and developing Canada's resource industry. He graduated from Rice University with a PhD degree in mechanical engineering and completed the executive management program at Western Business School, the University of Western Ontario, and the leadership program at the Yale School of Management, Yale University. Dr. Asgarpour is a life member of SPE and a member of the CAE and the Institute of Corporate Direction. Welcome. Let's hear you, Dr. Asgarpour.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. This is really a pleasure to talk to you because Mexico is our second home. During Christmas, my family, we go there for 2 weeks and enjoy your beautiful country. So it's really a pleasure talking to you today. I would like to first maybe share the screen. I don't know if it's working or not right now. Just let's see. Can you see it? Perfect. Okay. So let me. I mean, this is great because I think we have really a significant opportunity for collaboration with the academy, your academy, with respect to finding solutions, a sustainable solution for energy, working toward what I call net zero. Essentially, by 2050, our goal is to make sure that we achieve the net zero target. The other thing that I think we see it very important is the digital innovation, which I think is changing the world. And engineers need to be not only looking at profitability and coming up with innovative ideas, but look at how they can save the planet, help the people of this planet, and whatever work they do would be sustainable. So engineers would play a significant role, much even higher role that they have already played. So that's kind of what I thought in terms of my presentation would be, talk about both with respect to how we can get to the net zero and also use digital technology. So I work for PTAC as president of Petroleum Technology Alliance Canada. And so what I thought I can maybe briefly talk about PTAC and then the work that we are doing. PTAC is a unique innovation ecosystem helping oil and gas industry significantly improve its environmental, safety, and financial performance. And we do it through facilitation of innovation and collaborative research technology development. We have 225 organizations that are PTAC members. They represent producers, service and supply company, government organizations, regulatory bodies, small and medium-sized enterprise that are trying to find clean technology and also researcher. There are 600 projects have been already completed. Last year we had 108 ongoing research and development projects. We have held over 1,000 events. By the way, you all are invited to attend a 3-day complimentary webinar on methane, which is going to happen July 7th, 8th, and 9th. And if you are interested, we will send you information to register and learn more about the methane activities. A wholly owned subsidiary of PTAC is called Clean Resource Innovation Network. It has over 1,400 members. We are about to receive over $100 million from federal government to essentially move ahead with our game plan for the clean resource innovation. So why did I decide to talk about methane? First, reduction of methane emissions would address the current challenge identified by the United Nations that the next 12 years are the most critical years that we really need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So when we reduce a molecule of methane emissions, it's like equal to reducing 85 molecules of CO2 for the next 12 years. So it has a huge impact. As a matter of fact, 20% based on the 200 residence time, 20% of global greenhouse gas emissions is from methane. But if we take into account for the next 12 years, the impact would be close to 45%. So the other thing, it's again in Canada, the methane contributes around 14%, but looking at the next 12 years, it would be close to 50%. The second factor is that methane emissions, we are also getting rid of air pollution. When we produce methane, with methane it comes air pollutant, VOCs, etc. And so this is not about just reducing greenhouse gas emissions. This is improving the health of our people. A third, methane is a valuable commodity. We can conserve it and actually make money. And then the fourth is that reducing methane emissions is the most cost-effective way of going after reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Technologies we have developed, we do it at less than $5 per CO2 equivalent, per ton of CO2 equivalent, which is, when you look at it, is at least 10 times less than the cost of reducing CO2. So the way that what we decided to actually do this project is we said let's look at how innovation happens. And as you know, I'm just trying to change the slide, so let's see. So innovation, when it happens, actually 3,000 raw ideas, as you know, ends up to be one successful technology. So we really need to come up with huge number of ideas to come up with developing technologies. So for that reason, we created, and for reducing methane emissions, two networks. One is on methane emissions reduction, and then the other one is digital innovation and digital technologies. So what these two networks are doing, they are connecting people, ideas, projects, capital, and essentially enabling us to start not only coming up with a grand vision, but also this networks would provide an overarching umbrella for conducting all of the elements of research and development. And we are doing the research and development from TRL of 1 all the way to TRL of 9, technology readiness level. For technology readiness level 1, we are doing methane conversion. It's basic research is happening at University of Calgary, it is also Montreal Polytechnique and few others, that what we are trying to find is low temperature conversion of methane to methanol and value added opportunities at extremely low greenhouse gas emissions. So that would become, I guess, something that would help us move toward that net zero impact. The next area is applied research. And applied research, I'm going to talk about it very quickly, is really focused on methane detection. And I will talk about some of the technologies we are doing. And then the higher TRL is about developing technologies. And the way that we are doing it, we have created a playground, which is called Testing Facility Consortium. And then we found out that the challenge that we were facing, which was defined as the valley of death, and the valley of death for technology provider is an area where they cannot secure sites to field test their technologies, and they cannot secure funds for doing their technologies. So that's why we created that technology development. But then later on, we found out even when we develop a commercial technology, the market uptake is not that great. And then so that was a new challenge that we identified, that then we need to help these technology providers not only commercialize, but they increase the uptake of their technologies. So the way that we are doing through several programs, we are providing up to 75% of cost of installation and equipment for reducing methane emissions, so the producers would get a first-hand experience with these technologies, so that way they would go and then increase the market uptake of those technologies. So I talk about applied research, and applied research is, as I said, is to find cost-effective way and accurate way of detecting methane emissions. So as an example, we have done this concept in 2 areas. Each area is covering 2,500 square kilometers. In the Red Deer zone, there were over 200 large facilities. We were dealing with 30 operators in that area. And we actually got almost 100% voluntary participation from operators. I sent a letter to them, and 28 out of 30, they said they would love to collaborate. 2 of them, they started questioning us, but later on we told them that we have been deputized by the regulatory body to have access to their facilities, so then they open their doors. So anyways, what we have done here, we have gone through those camera, the OGI, and then equipment by equipment measured methane emissions. And then we have done it through different frequencies. And then we used drones, aeroplanes, trucks, stationary sensors. These are highly sophisticated sensors, along with a digital platform to find a cost-effective ways. We have done similar thing in Mexico. We were part of the Nano project, Nationally Appropriate Mitigation Action Plan, that was actually launched by Hillary Clinton and 12 ministers around the world. And we went to all of the facilities in Pemex, and we actually, through measuring emissions there, we set the baseline greenhouse gas emissions for Pemex, enabled them to have access to World Bank money, but also be able to get credit for reducing their methane emissions and other greenhouse gas emissions. So by building this digital platform, right now we are finding a very cost-effective way, and our target is to reduce also the industry cost by $50 million per year on just the detection alone. The next area is what I call a playground, a place where we can field test technologies. We form a consortium, as you can see, majority of the organizations that are working with us that are here. There are 15 producers, 10 universities, not only 8 of them are in Canada, 2 are in the US, 4 research centers, and a significant number of other organizations that they have dedicated their facilities, over $1 billion facilities, for field testing, both methane detection and mitigation technologies. So this concept actually was, the government of Canada wanted to spend $70 million building new facilities. We told them, rather than doing that, let's connect all of the existing facilities together and form a consortium where everything can happen in that. And they really agreed with that concept. And so, as you can see, those facilities are all over Canada in all essentially provinces, and they are really helping both detection and mitigation technology to be tested through a very systematic approach. I mean, I show you this concept of this a funnel. We start actually with some pre-qualification of technologies that we have from technology providers. We then do a techno-economic assessment to make sure that they are going to be not only technically feasible, but economically also viable. And then after that, then we would take them to lab tests, conduct lab tests, and then we'll take them to field tests. And then finally, we go with field demonstration. So we have right now, when we put this program together, we had 200 technologies in our hopper. Currently, we have now 300 technologies that we are taking it through this systematic approach to field test those technologies. I talked about some of the technologies that we have developed. So currently, actually, I send you some files, and those files are actually, one of them is related to technologies that they have developed through PTAC. 17 of those technologies currently collectively, those are PTAC technologies, they have capacity to reduce the sectors, oil and gas sectors, methane emissions by 30%. But also, we are on track by 2021 to get to 45% capacity. So then we would enable producers, or give them 4-year time, to be able to deploy those technologies and meet their target, these are regulatory body targets of 45% methane emissions by 2025. But we are not stopping there. We have put a game plan to develop enough technologies to be able to reduce methane emissions by 90% and develop those technologies by 2030. So I'm going to give you one example of these technologies that is right now being developed is what we call it is a dump valve actuator. Actually, the technology came from the US military. It's an alloy that you add a very small electric charge, would expand and contract. And so it can act as a pump that we can use and replace all of the pneumatic devices. And I mean, this technology is gone through field testing and is really showing a great promise to replace all of the pneumatic devices in the field. And we are talking about millions of those. So I'm going to provide you also one example of what we call a technology that was developed through PTAC. This technology would capture light hydrocarbon from condensate tank, from oil tanks, from compressors, and then utilize it in the field as fuel. So this technology, although only the industry uptake has been only 10%, it is right now reducing the amount of greenhouse gas emissions is like taking 130,000 cars off the road annually, while it's saving industry $15 million. If we go with 100% uptake, it would be like taking 1.6 million cars off the road and would save industry $160 million per year. So this is again an example that the engineers with their ingenuity and with their creativity have proven that there is no trade-off between financial and environmental performance. We can do both at the same time. As I mentioned, currently we have around 8 big programs going on that they are providing up to 75% cost of installation and deployment of such a technologies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and then let industry have first-hand experience with these technologies, and then we would increase the market uptake of these technologies. So that's kind of at the end of my presentation, but I would be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asgarspur. Let me to present two for the Mexican side. Wait a minute, I'm changing my class. To Professor Victor Castaigne, who is a recognized international leader in several areas of applied science and technology. He holds a bachelor science degree in engineering physics and a master science and PhD in physics from the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. He spent 2 years in IBM's Thomas Watson Research Center in New York as a postdoctoral fellow. He has been a lecturer at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México in the faculties of Chemistry, Sciences, Engineering, Accounting, and Administration and Dentistry. Universidad Autónoma de Querétaro in the faculties of Engineering, Medicine, Accounting, and Administration, Psychology, and Law. The Autonomous University of Nuevo León, Faculty of Physico-Mathematical Science, the Universidad Iberoamericana, the Instituto Tecnológico de Querétaro, etc. He was a founding director of the Center for Applied Physics and Advanced Technology of the UNAM in Juriquilla, Querétaro. Professor Castaigne has published over 750 articles in international referred and indexed journals, 242 articles in conferences proceedings, 22 book chapters, 5 books, and 25 patents. It has 678 papers presented at conference and 51 technical reports to various industries. He has been advisor to over 190 bachelor science, master science, and PhD theses in Mexico, Peru, Argentina, Colombia, the USA, Canada, Spain, and Germany. His work has received over 14,000 citations, especially in the last few years when some of these pioneer contributions has begun to have great repercussions and have led him to receive international awards and recognitions. In this respect, it is important to emphasize the fact that Victor Castaigne is an engineer and scientist of great originality who dares not only to explore subjects to do not represent the fashion of international science, but also has the capacity of having his proposal receiving worldwide attention. He is associate editor of several prestigious international journals and editor-in-chief of recent patents in nanomedicine. He is chosen by election of the International Council for Materials Education and has been a member of several evaluation commissions in Mexico and abroad, United States, Canada, Spain, Costa Rica, Colombia, Brazil. Probably the areas where Professor Castaigne is best known is in material science and biomedicine, where he invented a very extensive line of new materials and technologies for various applications. Welcome, Professor Castaigne.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. And thanks to the organizers of this meeting for the opportunity to talk to you. First of all, I'd like to welcome our Canadian friends and colleagues to the virtual picture of our headquarters. This is one of the most beautiful buildings in the Americas, and we hope that soon enough we'll have the opportunity to host you here. For the time being, let me tell you about this presentation, which is really an invitation to attempt to do a joint project given the challenges that this 2020 situation in the world is facing. And what I'm going to talk about is PPE. PPE is really the a collection of all the things that not only a doctor, but also a nurse, a medical practitioner, and basically everyone who has some health problems faces. And that includes, of course, face masks, gloves, and all kinds of devices that in most cases are disposable, and that today, as we will see, play a key role for this pandemic. The PPE is so important that the World Health Organization has a manual to describe how this equipment should be designed, used, and disposed. This is just the first page of the newest manual, which was published last March, that shows you, and I would like to point out on the right-hand side, the word engineering controls. To the World Health Organization, PPE is a big challenge, not only for health practitioners, but also for engineers. The idea here is that to optimize the availability of PPE, we need three components. First, how to use properly PPE. Then how we engineer a hospital, a house, or any place where a human is going to be working or living to minimize the use of PPE, and how we can coordinate the supply chain of PPE. This according to the World Health Organization. The problem, according to official data, is very, very big. Every month, we need at least 89 million masks, 30 million gowns, 1.6 million goggles, 76 million gloves, and millions of liters of sanitizer. How we are going to cope with this as engineers? The problem is so big that in countries as developed as the United Kingdom, the government is going to the common people to help to produce gowns, aprons, masks, and all sorts of PPE, because just the official supply is not good enough. This is a recent act from the government of Surrey in the United Kingdom, asking for people to help. In Canada, of course, this is also a big problem, and that's why I ask the question about how the academies in Canada are facing together this problem. Because according to the government of Canada, there is a problem with the buying and selling of PPE during this COVID-19 in a country like Canada. This is a recent program on CTV News asking, now that some provinces in Canada are reopening, how is the supply chain for this PPE stands? And as Canadians, you will see that in some places, this is not a simple question to answer. According to this program in Toronto, please read the second paragraph. Acquiring PPE has been a major challenge for the government because many companies just have not enough production, and it's not only the production of the PPE itself, but of the raw materials needed. There is a world shortage of polypropylene non-woven fabrics, and people are just looking for other possibilities because, as I did mention, this is a worldwide problem. In Mexico, we also are facing this problem. And in May 2020, just over a month ago, the government of Mexico issued an official manual to cope with the PPE needed in all the hospitals in the country. And this is one of the pages of this PPE. First of all, you will see that PPE is much more than just mask and gloves. It includes very sophisticated devices that help a doctor. And the other thing that I like to notice is on the right-hand column, you see that what they discuss what are the alternatives to diminish risk. And most of the answer is there is no alternative, no hay alternativa. There is no alternative. And the best advice they could say, avoid it if possible. This is an official document. That's how we stand in Mexico. Also in this document, one big important thing that begins to point towards engineering is that the transmission, the areas, and the interaction all played a role together. All they interact. So that means that as a doctor, you could try to talk about the what a patient does, but as an engineer, you have to look the whole system as a unit and try to solve this. In other words, the problem goes beyond the capabilities of a medical doctor and claims for the participation of engineers. In our university, the National University of Mexico, we have the same problem, and we have a campaign now asking to donate either masks or money to help people that are fighting the COVID-19. In England, there is a very interesting project which puts together the Royal Academy of Engineering and the Institute of Healthcare Engineering and State Management, because they noticed what I just said, that the problem is not only a medical problem, it's not only an engineering problem, but we need the participation of all together. And then a couple months ago, the Royal Academy of Engineering got in touch with the Mexican Academy of Engineering, with Dr. Albarrán, and to ask how we can help, how engineers of the whole world could work together to present a response to the pandemic. And then I have been in touch for the last couple months with Ben McAlinden, who is in the International Relations Department of the Royal Academy of Engineering. And this is a copy of an email I exchanged with him. And I like you to notice the things that are in red. First of all, here in Mexico, we have developed a new, very, very effective substance again for sanitization. It's called nanoxene. And so as you see in the first row, they are asking how nanoxene works against COVID-19. And the answer is that we just got the results, and it works very nice. 99.99 killing of COVID-19 virus in 30 seconds. Second thing is that, as you see, in the UK, our academy is supporting the National Health Service by gathering international evidence of approaches to the contamination of single-use PPE. There is not a lot of experience on this in the UK, so we are seeking input from the global community. There is another big problem, since there is a big shortage on PPE raw materials and final products. People have no choice but reusing. And the question we asked to a number of hospitals in Mexico, and now in collaboration with the Royal Academy of Engineering, we are putting a worldwide report on this, are the following questions. What are the methods for PPE decontamination? Are you decontaminating single-use PPE? What scale does this operate at? Did you have to overcome regulatory barriers, and so on and so forth? Because this has been a growing issue in the entire planet. Also, the World Economic Forum last week wrote an article about how these emerging technologies are becoming critical infrastructure. And this goes beyond medical practice or engineering practice. It goes to governance. How what we do, engineers, is going to affect the governance of the world. These are some pictures taken from the internet, and how the hands and faces of doctors, nurses, and medical practitioners are being affected by the use of these gloves, either brand new or recycled. So just to end, the idea here is to present to you the following proposal. How the Academia Mexicana, the Mexican Academy of Engineering and the Canadian Academy of Engineering could collaborate and the project will be named PEE for COVID-19, a binational multi-engineering approach that will include design, testing, certification, cleaning, disposal, and everything, going all the way to governance. How engineers could help to the governance of the post-COVID world. This, of course, includes biomedical engineering, logistics engineering, civil engineering, electronics, and basically all engineering disciplines. This is the very last slide. I will be very, very happy on behalf of the Mexican Academy of Engineering to listening to your proposals, your comments, and hopefully your collaboration for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Castaigne. Let's come back to Canada now for listening Robert Crowe, sorry. Dr. Robert Crowe is the Executive Director of the Canadian Academy of Engineering. He provides strategic advice on innovation to government, academia, and industry. He has held numerous engineering leadership roles, including CEO of Nano, Quebec, President of the National Capital Institute of Telecommunications, Executive Director of the Ontario Research Network in Electronic Commerce, and Director of Disruptive Technologies and Advanced Technology Strategic Planning at Norton. Robert sits on the boards of private sector and non-for-profit organizations and participates in standards development in the fields of nanotechnology, energy, advanced manufacturing, and innovation. Dr. Crowe holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's in electrical engineering from McGill University and a PhD in electromagnetic compatibility from the University of Ottawa. Robert is a fellow of the Canadian Academy of Engineering, a senior member of the IEEE, a certified project manager, and a licensed engineering in the province of Ontario. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Let me just see if I've got the right presentation up here. You have that on your screen. Thank you. This has been a very useful and very interesting session so far. And I think between Dr. Castaigne's ideas about collaboration for PPE or PEE as he's proposed for the project, and also for in the area of methane, which is such a cost-effective way to reduce greenhouse gases, as Sohail has. I think we already have two just excellent projects on the table that we could consider. Certainly one of the things I will say in addition to the PPE, and I don't know how this is in Mexico, but one of the big challenges that we have in Canada is with our elderly population in retirement homes. And one of the things that myself and a number of my colleagues have been reflecting on is the fact that as engineers, there is work to be done in the design, construction, ventilation of retirement homes for the elderly, which is a bit beyond PPE, but probably, we have two great populations at risk, one of which is the healthcare, frontline healthcare workers, and the other which is the older population. So maybe we can look at how that might come together. What I just want to flip through here very quickly is some of the other areas, and I don't, the Canadian Academy of Engineering is a much smaller organization than, say, the National Academy in the US or the Royal Academy. And as we said, it's a mostly volunteer organization. But we do have a broad range of interests, and we have projects that are going along at various rates in different areas. And amongst our fellows are many of the deans of our major engineering schools across the country. So we have access to a very large research base, that and through our national labs. So I just wanted to run through very quickly some of the other areas that we have projects in. So one of the areas that we've done probably the most work in is looking at energy futures. Canada is an energy-rich country. There's almost no type of energy that we don't have access to. But we also use a lot of it on a per capita basis. So we are looking at lots of ways of trying to meet our Paris objectives and to look at ways that we can both be environmentally sustainable and economically viable. And one of the big steps in doing this, one of our fellows, Lon Trottier, made a very generous, his foundation made a very generous donation back in 2015, 2016, for us to do a full inventory of what all of the energy flows in the country are, and then to look at various ways we could go towards the future with a mix of hydrocarbons and nuclear and hydroelectric and wind and solar, and to see what combination of those could actually get us to both meet our national energy needs and to meet our sustainability targets. And so there's a fair amount of work going on at the moment about building energy corridors, about making that infrastructure robust. We're also doing quite a bit of work on built infrastructure. Canada is not a fast-growing country, so much of our building in terms of improving energy efficiency is about retrofit. And so there's this conference that is coming up in October, which you are absolutely welcome to attend. It will be online this year. We will have 20 papers on different ways in which buildings can be self-sufficient from an energy perspective and resilient for more extreme weather and climate. Oceans engineering is another very interesting one. When people think of Canada, they think of fields of wheat, and they think of great expanses of snow or massive hydroelectric programs. They rarely think of the oceans. And yet Canada has, as you may be aware, the world's longest coastline. It doesn't just have the longest coastline, it has a coastline that is 5 times longer than the country with the second longest coastline. We have an enormous coastline. Most of it happens to be up north, and so has not received all that much attention. But we know the Arctic Ocean is a very delicate environment. And with the changing climate and the changing ice structures, we're going to see much more activity up in the north. So one of the consequences of not being particularly maritime focused, and there's some lovely exceptions to that, but we do not have a very large maritime engineering community. And so in the last decades, ocean science has made huge steps forward in Canada, but oceans engineering has somewhat lagged behind. And that has to do with shipbuilding, with drone building, with coastal reclamation, with smart oceans, sensors, and the rest of it. So this is going to be the topic of our main technical technical symposium next year on the 16th of June in Halifax, which is a beautiful city on the east coast in the province of Nova Scotia. You may have mentioned Yves Beauchamp had to leave for another call, but wanted to make sure that I'd extended an invitation to anybody who's involved here to come to Halifax and participate in this. But we think it's one of these areas that is going to be very important for the future of Canada is how it actually works with its shoreline and with its oceans. Transportation is another one. Like Mexico, we're a very big country. We were built on trains and highways, and there is a big shift coming with electric vehicles, and there are many concerns. There's always a big debate between the US and Canada and Mexico about automotive fabrication, and are these electric cars going to have any parts, and who's going to make the batteries? So we're very, from the transportation perspective, we're particularly interested in the future of the automobile and electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, and I'm sure you have similar interests and concerns. An area, a small project for us, and delightfully one of our scholarship award winners, a student in Simon Fraser University in British Columbia, won this year on a small satellite project. Canada's very proud of the work that he did on the Canadarm that was on the space shuttle. We're going to be involved with the Lunar Gateway project. We've got a very long history, not big, but very long in space. And so we're very interested, while we're still worrying about how we save the planet, there are some fascinating engineering projects to do with the Lunar Gateway and the mission to Mars, and we want to make sure that that is very visible. Climate change, of course, cuts through absolutely everything. And Eddie Isaacs, who has just stepped down as president, is now a past president, is leading a project that is looking at how climate change, how engineering deals with climate change. Of course, in the energy and the transportation and all of those other sectors, it figures, but we thought we needed an overarching project that tied those things together. And then the health and welfare, and this is where the COVID mask project came in. One of the things that we did learn, and to Dr. Castaigne's question, the three academies work together very well on these assessments that go through the Council of Canadian Academies. It just takes 2 years for them to get up and running, and then another 2 years for them to do anything, and then the results come out. And one of the things that COVID-19 has taught us is we need to be able to move much, much faster than that. And so, I'm sure we're seeing activities, but I do think that there is going to be both the immediate and urgent projects of how you create masks, how you get them to the people who need them. The big outbreak started in cities, but we have a lot of at-risk communities in the far north, in rural and remote areas of Canada, that once the virus gets in there, they just really don't have the medical infrastructure. So it's that much more important to be protected. And so this is not going to go away for a long time. I think this is going to change the way we engineer public transit, the way we engineer public buildings. There's a lot of deep thinking to be done on this topic. So that was just an overview. It covers a lot of things, but we'll certainly be very interested in talking with you about any and all of these, and to see where we can find the resources. As with yourselves, I'm sure, it's easier to come up with ideas than it is to finance them. But what I find is that there is money around if people have confidence in the teams that you put together to deal with them. And certainly Sohail has demonstrated an ability to pull those things together as well. So thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Wait a minute. Let me, okay. Now we go with the last intervention by Mexico, in charge of Mónica Barrera, our new vice president elected. The Mónica Barrera Rivera is a full academic member of the Communication and Electronics Specialty Commissions of the Mexican Academy of Engineering, AIM. As for her work for AIM, she has been a member of the directive councils of the presidencies of Sergio Alcocer Martinez, PhD, Jaime Parada Avila, PhD, and Jose Francisco Albarrán Núñez, PhD, acting as secretary under treasurer and treasurer respectively, where she proactively collaborated on improvements made during this academic biennium. She has acted as secretary of the electoral committee, the editorial committee, and the finance committee at the Academy. She has also been a strong promoter of the social witness service, enable our Academy members to obtain knowledge and technical fundamentals through the periodic delivery of social witness courses, which she has personally designed in order to ensure that the Academy performs with quality its social witness activities. She is a member of the Academies Committee for the appointment of representatives as social witness. Additionally, she worked on the development of, among others, the guidelines and practices corresponding to the Academy's social witness activities, which were later approved by the Academic Council. Regarding code of ethics, she encouraged and its development and corresponding approval. Furthermore, she has promoted the development and transparent disclosure of financial statements, as well as the auditing of the Academy's resources management. It is important to highlight that she is fully compliant with attending and participating in the meetings of boards of directions and academic boards of the editorial, electoral, and finance committees, as well as in the ordinary and extraordinary assemblies, in the colloquia and member incorporation ceremonies, and in the representative session that had been assigned to her. She stands out, among others, for the studies she has carried on, as well as for the work she has performed to develop and foster the interest of female adolescents and women in the study of engineering, incentivizing the inclusion of female engineers in the academy and elsewhere. It's very large. Let me, and her sector-oriented activities, in addition to the academy, have been outstanding. She's president or founder of the Social Witness College, and also president for Social Mexican Association of Engineers and Architects, through which the federal government appoints and delivers the National Engineering and Architecture Awards, in which she reactivated the operation and delivery of these national awards that had not been granted. Her presidency of the Association of Electrical Mechanical University Engineers stood out as well as her accomplishments as founding vice president of the Electrical and Electronic Communication Engineers College. Welcome, Monica Barrera, PhD.
Thank you very much, Marina. Good morning, everybody. It was a pleasure to know you, and it was very interesting. I'm sure that we are going to work together. Our organization and our goals are similar, and we are living in a special moment that we have to change our way of living. Well, I want to open the part of questions because I want to hear you, and then we are going to share our experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for Canada, wait a minute, I'm going to change.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, let's go with, oh, sorry. I close my, ready. Let's go with Peter Masher, which the chair of the International Committee of the Canadian Academy of Engineering, and a member of the board of the International Council of Academies of Engineering and Technological Services. He's also Vice Provost International Affairs at McMaster University, where he holds the William Sinclair Chair in Orthopedics and is a professor in the Department of Engineering Physics. Dr. Masher is Vice Chair of Nano, Ontario, and Chair of the Dielectric Science and Technology Division of the Electrochemical Society since 2017. He serves as a technical editor for the ECS Journal of Solid State Science and Technology. Dr. Masher holds a PhD in engineering physics from the Graz University of Technology in Austria. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for this kind introduction. I'll be rather brief to allow time for questions and discussion. The international committee that I'm chairing was established only about 3 years ago. And it's really a recognition by the Canadian Academy of Engineering of the importance of international outreach. And we've heard, of course, a lot in all the presentations so far about the many topics of interest for possible collaboration. And virtually all of these topics have very strong international flavor to them. None of the issues that were listed and have been talked about are single country issues or can possibly be solved by being inward looking. And so really the committee is there to support the Canadian Academy in its international outlook and to look for opportunities for partnership. And so I'm very happy to be on this call and to explore what the opportunities are to work with our colleagues in Mexico. Thank you.
Okay, let's open the questions. If you can raise your hand You can also write on the chat, and I could read you. Somebody wants to take the voice? While Gustavo Hernandez commented, okay, go ahead, go ahead. Was who began to speak? Nadie tomó la palabra, no me di cuenta, perdón.
Yes, this is Victor Castaigne, and I want to start the discussion asking the authorities of both academies how they foresee concrete collaboration in the short term. I don't know, exchanges, writing proposals to Mexican and Canadian governments, doing research together internally. I would like to ask our Canadian friends and Pepe Albarran and the rest of the committee of the Mexican Academy, how do they foresee a short-term collaboration?
If I can start, I think you know, we have seen an interesting example in terms of the COVID-19 artisanal masks that Guillermo de Peche from the Argentinian Academy brought to our attention through the Royal Academy of Engineering project. One of the things to explain about that, because I believe you had a presentation on that last week in the same format. Most of those individuals are actually not part of the Canadian Academy, but the Canadian Academy brought them together. And I think that's one of the important roles that we can play. Individuals within the Academy, many of them are either academic professors, researchers within universities, or they're government engineer researchers within laboratories. We aren't a funding agency. We don't have money to fund the actual research, but we have an amazing network of people in both private sector and in the research world. So I think that the place to start is to identify the projects, identify people who have a passion to pursue them, and we will see if we can put them together. What happens here in Canada tends to be, once we have a topic of interest, then there are a series of funding bodies, and you get into the mechanics of writing up the proposals and competing with all of the other proposals that are going on. The only thing I can say is that at the moment, under COVID-19, there is a lot of targeted funding available for working in that area that you wouldn't see in normal times. Peter, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that from a academic perspective.
Yes. Marina, ¿me das la palabra?
Adelante.
Oscar Monroy.
Adelante, go.
Yes, this is Oscar Monroy. I think that one activity that we do together, the Canadian and the Mexican engineering academies, is to try to put together in worldwide projects to the Mexican and Canadian engineers. And we can start in things as simple as making a list of projects from each country and distribute them among the members. and try to make this to make one or two of these projects work together. As in Canada, in Mexico, most of the a great deal of the members come from the academia, and the rest have their own consultancy and engineering projects. So we can try to do. There are very real interesting problems here in Mexico that we can solve together, like in the waste treatment, in the mining industry, that in fact we have a lot of Canadian mining industry in Mexico which haven't solved all the environmental problems. And I think the Mexican and Canadian academies can do something together. So just writing our projects and distribute them among the members of all countries, we can have a good start on that. Thank you.
If I may, I think that's an excellent suggestion. I also think your point there about the mining companies is a real opportunity. As you said, there are already a lot of links between Mexico and Canada through the mining companies themselves. And so approaching the mining research groups, we might actually find a very interested audience for moving forward on a number of projects. Certainly things like underground autonomous electric vehicles and other areas that the mining industry is looking at. I know there's a lot of interest here in Canada.
Wastewater treatment, for example, and lake conservation.
Absolutely, and I think Sohail would know a lot about that from the from the mining in the western provinces.
Well, I think there's substantial strength across the country in water-related engineering, both wastewater treatment, but also supply. So this is definitely a topic where there would be great resonance with the Canadian engineering and research community.
Maybe Guillermo Casar would have a comment.
Hi everybody. I think this topic is similar by the Oscar Monroy, with a big problem is very important. Define the structures by the different results in the finally problem. I think that's so.
What about buildings?
Okay, in buildings is the principal is the healthcare is the process by the sanity.
Translation and could be better because it's not our natural language, you know.
Okay, thank you. Sí, considero que dentro de lo que son las edificaciones sustentables, el caso particular de los hospitales es un tema que tenemos que abordar urgentemente, derivado del problema que tenemos en este momento. No sé, voy dando tiempo para que traduzcan, ¿no?
Okay, on sustainable buildings, the particular case of hospitals is one that we should take a good look and an urgent look.
En este momento se han dado una serie de diseños para poder atender el volumen de personas infectadas a través de el poder construir hospitales móviles y con esto enfrentar de una mejor manera la pandemia. Si quieres.
Okay, some temporary structures or mobile structures for hospitals have been put together to attend this pandemic situation. Sile.
Conforme se vaya satisfaciendo los volúmenes y podamos regresar a los hospitales fijos, obviamente vamos a tener un mayor control, pero esto nos está dejando una enorme conocimiento para poder llegar a lugares en donde no se puede accesar con, digamos, los diferentes servicios, como pueden ser en México la Sierra de Oaxaca. Entonces estos hospitales están teniendo un resultado muy positivo en la actualidad y después de la pandemia será una forma de poder llevar un hospital a las zonas lejanas de México y del mundo.
There's some very important knowledge we can take from this experience, because in Mexico there are zones, areas that are not only not very well communicated, but also they are very poor. So taking a medical facility to these places that is really effective, because as Robert said, there are two main populations that are very susceptible to COVID-19, and one is the medical personnel. So it's not only a thing of putting beds together, but you have to protect the people that work there. And there's something we have to learn from here. We know that we are right now in a hurry. I'd say it's very little time to learn, but we don't have to miss the lessons learned and then apply them, because this type of issues probably will be recurrent in our world. Gracias.
Actualmente en Centro y Sudamérica están volteando a ver para repetir el modelo en todo Centro y Sudamérica, y eso, bueno, pues está dando solución en países hermanos como puede ser Perú, Ecuador.
Okay. Some other Latin American countries can probably contribute and be a recipient of whatever knowledge our technology can produce.
I do think this issue of lessons learned, we haven't yet overcome the first wave of Corona. We haven't yet started the second wave, but I do think there are a lot of lessons that have already been learned, both in our two countries and elsewhere around the world. And certainly Italy discovered that mixing corona patients with your other patients is not a good plan. And various countries, China and others, moved quite quickly to build entire new separate facilities early on in the process. And I think I think there are a lot of people who were not engineers who didn't know that you could do that. So I think perhaps a collaboration around lessons learned could be a very useful. And as we look at what's going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years, I think it may be essential to the way we keep responding.
I think we could try to form a group of interested members of our academies around the different topics that we have just mentioned. We could make a list of possibilities and then see if there are interested members of our academies that want to work in any of these. And through that, we could set up, let's say, steering committees to work on these problems. I don't know if you like that approach.
I think that would be an excellent approach. And I also, when I was telling people that we were coming to talk with you at this meeting, I was quite surprised and pleased at the number of people who either now or in the past have had research collaboration relationships either with Mexico or with Argentina or Peru. So I think you'll find in Canada there's a lot of people who not only are interested in the topic, but are actually have links already in place that will help a lot in becoming a success.
I like that concept. I mean, maybe what we need to do is pick 1 or 2 focus area and then work on it by, as you mentioned, forming a committee, etc., to actually articulate the challenge first that we would like to work, because a problem well defined is a problem half solved. And then from then we can maybe decide about the scope. But we should try to make sure that we start from small to big. Success would bring success. Let's start something that we know is going to be successful and then build on that and move forward.
Odette Lobato is asking for the voice. Adelante, Odette.
Thank you very much. Hello to everybody, and welcome to the Canadian Fellows. I am very interested about the governmental assessment that the Canadian Engineering Academic used to make every year, because I think it's a very objective and neutral way to do it. I am a full professor of a private university, Jesuit University, and we participate in some assessment like that. And I would like to know more about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll happily send you more information. If you want me to say a few words about it right now, I'll be happy to do that as well. The Council of Canadian Academies was essentially set up by the federal government as a way for the government to work with the academies. And I forget how many people they have there, but the key ingredient is that the staff of the council really understand how to write, and they understand how to write policy. So they do a very good job of translating from the technical knowledge of the medical faculty, the medical academy, the science and the engineering, into a language that politicians and policymakers really understand. And these it's a long process. Typically, there are 12 to 15 experts on the committee, and then there's a whole group of people who are supporting them both logistically and in terms of making sure that the work piece is moving forward. I was their remit is not to make policy. It is to capture what the state of the art is. And one of the and all of these reports are available on their website. I can send you the link. They're very well written, very well researched. One of the ones I was talking about recently, they had 520 references of documents that went into the 160-page assessment report. So it's a very thorough piece of work, but I think it's a best practice. It seemed to put in a piece that is difficult. Otherwise, if the Academy is talking directly to the government, there's often a misalignment of information. I mean, we still obviously talk to them one-on-one, but they tend to take big topics and do an exhaustive survey of them.
To build on what Robert,
thank you very much. Excuse me, yeah.
To build on what Robert said, I think really the provincial and federal governments, they realize that smart policies and regulations are the one that they are built based on engineering and scientific facts, because then you can essentially there's no challenge with respect to those policies. So the members of the Canadian Academy of Engineering, for example, many of us have gone in front of Senate and also in front of House of Commons, a member of, and then talked about different issues and talked about policies and things that they need to be done.
Alerta sísmica. Perdón, alerta sísmica. Seismic alert here in my home. Sorry.
Goodbye.
Go out. I have to go out.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Pepe, is that something that is happening in your area too, or you're not hearing the alarm?
Yes, maybe you can hear it. It's sounding right now.
So you...
and it's supposed to be about 1 minute before the actual...
the earthquake hit. Are you gonna, I mean, are you gonna go out, or you feel...
No, I'm gonna stay home, but I don't feel anything. I don't see anything. I don't see anything moving.
It's a drill, probably.
So no, maybe it was not strong, very strong, but because usually it takes about less than a minute before it.
Yeah, and
here in my area.
Just for our Canadians friends, since last year there was this big earthquake 2 years ago, I think. It's a very sensitive sound. Every time that we hear it, everybody runs. Yeah,
that's right. Well, not everybody.
Well, not everybody.
Marina ran.
Oh, is it?
So, but we're right. Nothing has moved.
Well, I hope it will be okay.
No, nothing sensible has moved.
Yeah.
I was looking at the trees and antennas and other things outside my studio, and nothing's moving.
And I understand there is also there's
it's moving now. It's moving now.
Aquí en Colinas del Sur apenas se está sintiendo.
Yes, it's moving now.
Movimiento muy leve.
Qué bueno, qué bueno.
No, it's not.
It's very slow.
I mean, it is slow, but it's still continuing. It's been about maybe what, 15 seconds?
Perdón, lo tenía abierto.
It is moving slightly and slowly, but not too hard, because normally thinner structures like an antenna, you can see if they start, moving around, then it's very hard. But no, it is not. But it was sensible. They could sense it, and it looks like he passed now. But in Mexico, you get used to that.
Yeah, there is a culture. There is a culture of earthquake culture, and then some people have this app in their cell phones that you hear the alarm in your phone like a minute before or something like that. So at least you have time to go out.
Yeah.
It says Gustavo Hernández speaking. I'm in Calgary, but I'm from Mexico, and it says that the seismic alert was severe in Huatulco, Oaxaca.
Huatulco.
Okay. And Huatulco is severe.
How much is it?
In Salina Cruz, it was weak, as well as in Guajuapan de León, Oaxaca. But the seismic alert, it says severe in Huatulco, Oaxaca. Les pongo.
That's in the Pacific.
Has the earthquake stopped already, or do you still feeling the motions?
No, I don't feel anything now, and nothing is moving.
Hopefully,
it says it was severe, but it's probably finished now.
Yeah. Sometimes there are aftershocks, but not very soon afterwards. Maybe a few minutes after. But yes, some people got very scared, others not so much. So, well, maybe we can try to have a wrap up. Would you like to make a closing comment? Sohail, Robert?
Go ahead, Robert.
Thanks, Sohail. This has been a real pleasure, and I really want to thank you for bearing with us as we brought this together. And if your AGM is tomorrow, I admire your cool demeanor, because mine was on Monday, and it was quite. I had a lot of things on my mind. So thank you for finding the time. Thank you for moving this event so that we could fit it into Yves' calendar. I know he very much wanted to be part of this. I think we have some great ideas on the table. I think we have an approach, and I look forward to the next steps. As Sohail said, we'll move bit at a time, but many of these things have an urgency to them, and so there may be small steps, but I think there'll be a lot of them.
Okay.
Thank you. Now Gustavo is showing us something in the screen. Maybe his application of the news about the earthquake.
It was strong. Decía intensidad fuerte.
It's 7.1 in Mexico City, I guess.
Wow.
7.1, yeah. It's my family's send me information.
I hope they're all okay.
Our prayers with you guys, yeah.
Yeah, I hope everything will be okay. Well, with this time, with COVID and this, it's not very good, really.
No, that's no.
Yes. Well, sorry, I just don't want to distract the attention, but I just wanted to give you a couple of ideas from my perspective of being part well, understanding Mexico and Canada a little bit. So one of the things that maybe it would be interesting to do, it's Robert mentioned that there is already some collaboration in place. It would be interesting to know if probably launching the questions to see who's doing what with whom, just to have a little bit of a map of where's the interest. The other thing that it would be interesting to do probably is to have a main point of contact between the two academies. I'm not sure, probably Sohail, maybe the ones in Canada, but some of the problems that we face when we want to collaborate with Mexico is that we, in Canada, sometimes we don't know who's whom and who do what. Having someone that can be a contact to identify them, or to be a contact with the academy will be very useful. We usually have obviously we have a big partner in the middle, the United States, and we start meeting each other. And the other one, it's probably what you've been trying to do and you've been offering, it's inviting to different events and conference and sharing information that would be very useful to know each other. It was a very good surprise to participate last week in the conference that you organized for the face mask, to see all the expertise that UNAM and the private sector has to quickly put together these projects. And I think it would be very useful for us to know more, to have more idea of what you're doing. Thank you.
Fine. I think we will, as I proposed, make a list of themes and distribute it among the members of our academy. Well, the way we are organized, we would distribute it to the presidents of the specialty committees and the coordinators of the multidisciplinary programs to find out people that are interested in collaborating, and then set up kind of a steering committee for each of the themes that show more interest, and share that with our Canadian friends, and I think they might do a similar thing, and then we can see which are the ones that have more interest and work on those. Of course, since I will be finishing my presidency, this will be a work that I'm sure Monica Barrera will take as vice president of the academy, because normally the vice president is in charge of the activities of the academy, you know, of the commissions and of the programs. But I will work with her very gladly as past president, and you have the position of former president, no? Now, what we call it here is a lifelong ex-president.
No, I look very much forward to working with Monica. I think one of the things that is going to be interesting when I receive some information more about the Mexican Academy, I just have this sense that you are a lot bigger than us. One of the things that makes me think that is that, no, you're not.
No, we're not. We're about the same size.
In terms of numbers of people.
Yes.
You seem to be more structured. The fact that you have 16 presidents to go and talk to gets me worried. So just so you understand that within the Canadian Academy, most of us, the only person who is full-time is the summer student. So the
No,
I mean,
here,
I am mostly full time, but I'm the primary point of contact, and you know we have a great volunteer spirit. It usually takes a little while to find the people who are passionate about each of these areas, but I'm sure this won't take us very long.
yes. Well, in Mexico, it's also all volunteer except the executive director. That is Guillermo Medina.
Oh, okay.
And he would be like your counterpart.
Yeah. Okay.
And here he is, right in Huatulco. How
I
do you
listened to
feel
you.
over there?
I was
How do you feel
swimming,
over
so
there?
I came back. No problem.
Okay.
Okay,
Swimming.
so Guillermo and Robert will probably be a fixed link between our academies, in the sense that they are full-time and that they hopefully will not change that often, as every 2 years.
I look for you, Robert. Just be
Absolutely.
in touch and try to plan for the things that I think there are many. So we'll discuss it later. Okay.
Okay. Excellent. No, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
And Victor will certainly be one of our common points, being a member of both academies and a very active person. So I think if there are no any other comments, maybe Sohail, maybe we'll let you speak.
I really would like to thank you all. I mean, it was just fantastic and looking forward to collaboration between our two organizations. You know, I have always said that when we are united, we are much, much stronger. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys and helping our planet, our people, and both in a profitable way. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
We organized
very
this
much.
earthquake just to you to know how we live sometimes.
Yeah. It was a sideshow. It was a sideshow.
We will try to have an ice storm for our next meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Gracias a todos
Thank you
por
very
su
much.
participación.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Gracias.
Bye-bye. Thank
Hasta
you.
luego.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Nos vemos.
Please send your email to be in contact.
Very good.
We will do that.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
I will be the last one to leave the sessions. So see you. Thank you. Gracias, Rigoberto. Álvaro.
Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias, Rigoberto.
Chao, buen día.
Álvaro, gracias por venir.
A ti. Gracias.
Ruiz, para servirles. Geólogo.
Ahora a ver qué salió, porque si fue tan fuerte, porque donde estoy yo normalmente no se siente y ahora sí se sintió.
Sí, hijito.
Estuvo fuerte. Fue en Oaxaca y parece que aquí en México 7 mínimo el primer reporte, ¿no?
7-1 es lo que dijeron.
Pues ahora vamos a ver qué.
Acá en tu casa casi no se sintió, ¿eh?
Qué bueno. Yo también estoy en Cerro, en Naucalpan. La playa es, ya sabes, el puro show. Pero me salí también, obviamente, y algo algo se sintió. No lo niego, ¿no?
Doctor
Se
Guillermo, le
movió,
mando
fue
un abrazo.
oscilatorio. ¿Eh?
Le mando un abrazo muy cariñoso.
Igualmente, que estén muy bien los dos. Gracias.
Gracias.
Igualmente, buen día.
Buen día.